I'm so good. This one's game 1, right? Yes. Yes. Hey everyone, welcome back to Jaraci Cup 6. I'm gonna begin, or continue I suppose, covering the Group A from this tournament. Speech. Words. It's gonna be a Conf mirror, I'm sure you're all excited for that. The map is gonna be the Boneyard here, so NoFun interestingly actually is a lower seed than me. He placed higher than me in the last tournament. So he actually ends up getting the first map pick. He picked Conf, I picked the mirror into him. And then I'm trying to remember like what I was thinking as I was playing this. You can probably watch it on screen still if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I don't know. It's been a while. But I think that I was thinking that like NoFun was gonna go for some sort of blaster and shenaniganry. So I was like thinking, well, maybe we can match it, or at least you know, the carrier's pretty good at defending, the Conf carrier. But I wanted to keep the tempo really high, and I wanted to like push him as hard as I could. So. And I'm not afraid of playing the mirror matchup either. I think a lot of it comes down to micro when you're playing yeah, strategic early smoke. I mean, if you're gonna retire the base turn, you just gotta smoke, right? Anyway, I think a lot about this early matchup has to do, or sorry, this mirror matchup has to do with micro and really tight build order timings. And I think I'm pretty good at both of those things, so I trust myself to win this one. Looks like I'm going for rails here, otherwise I would definitely already have assault ship tech started. And really the only thing I'm worried about is that my opponent does some kind of blaster and shenaniganry. I definitely need to keep on my toes about that, but obviously if he keeps the base runner, which as you can see NoFun has done, he's going to have to be a little bit slower on his tech. So I know that there's a trade-off there, and I'm kind of comfortable to take it. Fleet Cap 45 coming out from it at a very early timing as well. Here's the blast drone. And he does have the number of sand skimmers on the field at the moment, but his tech is definitely later than mine. You can see I already have railgun tech on the way, so I feel pretty comfortable. I think that this can be defended without too much difficulty. Just as long as I'm not a Pepega, but I mean, then again, you know, it seems like I'm setting myself up for a Bozo throw, doesn't it? I hope you destroyed them. Well, you shall have to wait and see. Fleet Cap 45 gonna finish for me now. This is quite a lot of skims here. As you can see, I charged up a missile at the beginning of the game as well. It's always just kind of a nice touch. But we leave power and mobility as long as we can. At this point, I probably want to reallocate it into weapons though. Great minds think alike, namely me and me. Made the same call there. And this is a pretty good trade here, obviously, anytime we can fight under our carrier. But it does end up just going 1-for-1. If he wanted to commit in there, though, he definitely would have taken some damage. Power 1 going to finish for me now, so that lets me have the missiles on permanently. Yeah, I never miss. That was a warning shot. And now it's going to be Assault Ship Fab from NoFun, but this seems a little bit late to me. Obviously, the first Assault Railgun is going to be finishing already. So I don't need to get up to 2 base anytime soon. Obviously, I can see this BC. I know what he's doing. So I'm just gonna, you know, try to defend for now. Like let him, you know, take as much time as he needs here before he backs off. And during that time, I'm just gonna hold 1 base. I'm not gonna worry about getting up onto 2. Skim's pretty close to this assault rail here, but I don't think even with focus fire he would have been able to kill it. I don't think he really shot it hardly at all, really. So we're just kind of trading for some free damage here. If you look at the units lost tab, it's starting to look pretty good. And even if this is an assault ship, it's not. It's actually just a skim. But like, I don't know what assault ships are really going to get done here now. So now NoFun's army seems to be kind of en route here. And I'm just going to keep my bases covered. I don't want to get like killed by blast drones here. Obviously that does seem to be what he's going for, and I have that in the back of my mind obviously anytime I'm playing against Conf. Even when I am Conf. But here he is anyway. I managed to let him through, it seems. How's the splits? Oh. Not terrible. Not great, not terrible. I do have these 2 dudes here who are LDMing, so I guess I can fill that slot pretty easily. And NoFun gonna go to ref mode here and back away, but it looks like he cancels it, switch to the interceptors. Oh, he can do both. Wow. Talk about money. But I don't really care because I have a second PC on the way here. So my thought is 3.6 throws, not great, not terrible. My thought here is that I can have 2 PC and I can rush him basically. Like I can just turn around and kill him right now. So it doesn't really matter if he goes for ref mode. Like we have enough momentum on the field here that we can just kind of finish the game from this stage. And obviously we're gonna need heavy rails to do that, but you know, we'll get them. We obviously have full control of the field for now, so we can just kind of like lodge into this position here and then build some heavy rails to siege down that carrier. So yeah, really important, guys, if you're going to play this mirror matchup, Galzian versus Galzian, or their derivatives, there we go. Really important that your build order is super tight, right? Because obviously if you're slow on the tech, your opponent basically just gets free field control. I think when we went over like the education stream, I think I showed like the 2 builds that were really particularly meta for GVG, and like obviously if you want to do some stuff with blast drones, it's gonna slow you down a bit, but you need to know that like that's a possibility that you might just kind of get sort of thrown out of the match by that. So you need to be careful that you don't overcommit to some sort of like cheese. You know, basically just like if you're gonna go for something special, I like that a lot, but you know, just make sure you think it through. Did you say AS is bad? Oh, and by the way, you mentioned like Conif Carrier good at low power levels. Yes, definitely. They have, I think for sure, the most easy defense from level 1, or even indeed level 0. And that's one thing that, like, that's one reason why I picked them in this series, because I wanted the really high tempo, but I knew that NoFun was going to probably go to, like, some kind of aggro in the beginning. Speaking of the interceptors, by the way, this looks pretty juicy, the assault rails, but you gotta realize 2PC is pretty good anti-air. So, those guys are gonna go down, probably. The thing is, like, the threat of air is, like, really good, usually, when you play Assault Ship first. Oh, and the base runner gets the kill on the guy in the back end. That's just horrible. The threat of air is usually really good when you're playing against rails, but in this case, of course, I can flip back to 2PC, and you're not really going to be able to stop me, so it's difficult, right? It's difficult for sure. This wouldn't happen, of course, mind you, if, like, the AS opener had been played a little bit, like, sharper, I guess. Because I wouldn't have like this much of an advantage here. I'd have to really be playing a lot more defensive, and then I can't push out across the map because air is going to come out in time. But if AS tech is this late, I basically just get full control of the field, and then if you go for air at that timing, it's just kind of too late. So I saw the opportunity, I took it. That's going to be game 1 to me. As we'll move on to Torn Crater for game 2. But you mentioned, you were asking, do you think that AS first is weak in the mirror matchup? I actually don't think so. Because especially against newer players, like not dying to the assault ships is actually really hard. Especially on a map like Firebase or something. Or Torrent for sure as well. But yeah, I don't know, like definitely they look pretty bad when they get hard countered by the rails, but if your build timing is proper, I think that whoa, everyone in that carry just died. Like, if your timing is proper on the build, I think that you can do just fine with assault ships as well. Torrent Crater giving up the map for game 2. I'm trying to think exactly why I picked this one, but probably just kind of, you know, feeling a Torrent coming, you know what I'm saying? It's bad to rush Sport Cruiser at start. Actually, that's a pretty good build. I think that's really good for a new player to start with as well. You can see actually NoFun is going to go for that in this game, so he's making Sport Cruiser first. The important thing to remember if you do that is you want to get LEV Fab started afterward, not like a probe, and then you make a probe come out after that to get some scouting. We're 3 support cruisers in the attack carrier. But support cruiser first is basically just like the bread and butter economy build for DOK, for the coalition forces anyway. So if you can just like learn how to defend, if you can just kind of learn how to defend early pressure, I think this is definitely like the safest way to play. It doesn't require you to get any damage done, right? Because obviously you're the one who's setting like or you're letting your opponent, I suppose, set like the tempo for the game. And if he doesn't manage to get damage done with like an early attack, suddenly he feels a little bit silly for it. We're gonna try and dodge this probe here if we can. But NoFun seems to know. Yeah, there we go. So now we're just gonna go ahead and try and kill it. I think he only saw like one skim though, but the AI loves to attack them when I leave for the next base. Yeah, the AI is kind of weird in DOK. It makes like tons of freaking strike craft. Like I don't know if it's actually possible to get that many. For sure they definitely cheat on like economy terms. Like they get too many resources and stuff. But yeah, like an important thing to remember when you're doing SC first, if you do come across a rush, like it's definitely acceptable to like pull the carrier back and just hold on one base for a moment. Because your opponent, if he's rushing you, he's not on two base, so you shouldn't feel that pressure to try and hold two bases at once and then kind of get overextended and spread too thin. Instead, you just kind of consolidate onto the one base and you hold it for sure. And then, which actually NoFun is doing right now. This is a little bit preemptive, but that's probably the way that you go about that. So I don't really have vision on his carrier, I don't really have vision on his armies, I don't know how many LAVs there are, so that's why obviously I'm going to start with assault railguns first. And it's worth noting as well, by the way, we got this guy chilling in the back line. Can you AV rush on one base? Yes. Definitely, like, if you're going to AV rush, one base is the play. You actually get LAV fab at the very start of the game before you get like a salvager queued up. So LAV's hard count to AR? Well, not really. It all depends, right? Like obviously I think that matchup comes down to like good positioning on both players' side. If I can engage them at max range and be kiting the whole time, I'm definitely gonna win against LAVs, or at least I'm gonna trade super efficiently. So haha. Hey man, everyone has to get carried at first. It's a good way to be. LEDs don't cost RUs though. Yeah, but if I can trade like, oh gosh, the targeting jammer. Now let me tell you something. If the targeting jammer lands on the assault railguns, they don't win that trade for sure. This is actually pretty bad for me. NoFun once again coming in with like the freaking sick targeting jammer plays. This is of course what his Sovan is known for, so I probably should have given more respect to it there. But he actually wanted to all in there, but he didn't go in with the dude go in with the LAVs there. So I think he kind of threw a bit of a lead there actually. I think maybe he could have just won the game. Also, he definitely wants to engage after Assault Pack is done, not before. This is just kind of that's just sort of like allowing me to trade for free. Because obviously this is exactly what assault railguns want to do. Like, if I can kill, like, 4 LAVs before they get up onto me, like, there's no way he wins the trade. And then, yeah, maybe he gets some RUs down, but, like, obviously, you know, if he just doesn't have the army on the field anymore, that's fine for me. Okay, so the question now, though, is, now that I know that he obviously can beat me with the targeting jammer, do I just let him do it again, or do I actually play safe? Second PC is on the way for me now. Obviously, I don't want to get overrun by LAVs. It's important to know, by the way, I'm actually building this many assault rails because I'm on one PC. So if you have 2 PCs, you can outdo his LAV production with skins until he gets the production upgrade. But if you only have one, yeah, this is Group A. If you only have one, you really need assault railguns to be able to fight back against him. And obviously they work pretty well against armored assaults too, so it seems like a pretty good unit in that scenario. It's just rough though because of course I kind of can like do free damage for a while. Oh, he's gonna kill the heavy rail here, man. This is a bit of a bad positioning for me. Just gonna let that heavy rail go down. But that targeting jammer is not, or the base rail is not really close enough, so. I'm not worried about the targeting jammer right now, but I definitely did rebuild the heavy rail at this point. Kind of sloppy of me to lose that one. And you can see like 50 million units have died in this little area over here now. It's a staple of games with me. Although as AR with force trades, this is a good point actually. So obviously when we're playing against the Saban carrier, I can actually like kill him with AR. It's kind of counterintuitive if you're used to like when only really heavy railguns could do damage to carriers. Because obviously he's only got 15 armor. I do, how much is it, like 42 damage per shot? So that is like notable damage that I can do against this carrier. By the way, A-Game was flaming me like so mega hard for like not having these BDs like in the front line, which obviously is the right play, but like, you know, I wanted to get a big eco hit on the BDs, man. How can you blame me? Well, you know what I mean by flaming. You're just like, man, these BDs would be beautiful in the front line, wouldn't they, Bozo? Which is true. I mean, like, definitely that's the right play, but, you know. In fact, what the heck am I doing? I left now. The second PC is finally getting up to the front line. Obviously, guys, really important if you're doing, like, a one PC play and you want to extend it into the mid-game, you really need to have a second PC, because if they go for air, this is really good insurance. And I mean, just in general, like, you need the production if they're gonna have like a lot of LAVs. Now you can outbuild with Sandstormers. Just keep more units on the field than your opponent. Pretty decent targeting jammer lands right there. Actually, this AR is pretty much free here, but it's not focus firing as well as it should. This is a lot of assault rails though, so I mean, like, these LAVs really cannot trade efficiently here. There's just like so much damage being dumped into them. I'm a little afraid to check the units lost tab, but that looks pretty good for me. I mean, obviously RUs are more valuable, but like, you look at the armies that are on the field right now too. That definitely is not terribly encouraging. Let me tell you, I've played enough games against Sparrow that I definitely feel for him too. When people are really good at the rail rush, it can definitely feel sort of oppressive. Yeah, well, he had the AV tech before he saw the rush, I think. Well, actually, I'm not sure, because his probe did definitely scout the PC moving, but it didn't look terribly suspect. I think AVs are okay, but they can't be like in the front line really, because obviously they're just gonna melt. Like, there's just so much freaking anti-capital at this point. I think what he wants to do is, like, he has a couple of AVs, so use them to, like, pressure on the back line and come up for, like, flanks, basically. Okay, guys, the BDs are finally gonna hit, maybe. Yes, no. Yes! Yes, no! The targeting jammer! Oh my gosh. Well. That's pretty cringe. Yeah, I think the thing that, yeah, well, I mean, you deserve to after that freaking fight. Anyway, I think the thing to recognize though is that, like, just having LAVs is not the answer here. This is definitely a difficult matchup to win, especially on Torrent Crater. This is one reason I picked this map. It's because of this big, like, flat open ground here. It's really, really difficult to make the LAVs work against the Soul Rails there. Just LAVs does work. Fight me. Okay, you know what? We can go right now if you want. I will prove it, man.